Hi everyone, welcome to the 7th video of modules. Here first of all we are going to download the train pipeline to use it to develop an API, and then we are also going to test the pipeline just to make sure that everything is working the way we expect it to work. So let's get started. I hope that you remember that the pipeline that we had created is actually a Python object. Now whenever you want to store this Python object in a file, you need to use this functionality called dump. I'm going to import it from pickle library. So from pickle, I'll import this dump. Now what I'll do is I'll create a new file called as, let's say for example, pipeline.pkl, and I'll just use this write byte format to save all of this information about the pipeline in that particular file. And I don't really need to bother about closing it because I'll be using this with keyword. So with open, I'll be creating a file called as pipeline.pkl and use the write byte mode, and I'll open this file as file. You can give any kind of reference variable over here. I'm using file, and I'm going to use this functionality of dump to store this pipeline in this file. So if I run this code, you will notice that the code has successfully run. I'll go to this file storage, and you can see that the pipeline.pkl is ready for us. And now we can simply test this pipeline, and if everything is working fine, we can download this pipeline and we can later on use it for the deployment process. So I'll just close it and I'll load this pipeline and basically test it. So I'll copy this whole code because the code is pretty much same for the loading part. Again, from the pickle, I'll be using this functionality of load. I need to open the same file, that is the pipeline.pkl that I am having over here. So it's going to take the same name, but now I don't want to write it. I want to read it. I'll be opening this as file. That's what I'm referencing this particular file as. And then I'll load it now. And then what do I need to load? I need to load this particular file. So I'll just get rid of this pipeline and just call it as file, because this file is actually that pipeline that we had downloaded in the first place. So now I'm just going to give a name to it. Let's say pipeline for test or test pipeline, whatever it is. I'll just run this particular thing. So now this pipeline test is actually the same pipeline that we have over here. But now rather using this, I'll be using this pipeline test to do this kind of testing. So let's have a quick sneak peek into the test data. And I'm going to use one of the row. Let's say for example, I'm using this row of index 1. This 6 is because we had created this data frame from the original data frame. And then there was some ratio of tests that we had used. So it's with respect to that. But originally it's index 1. If I have to show that to you, I can use iloc. I'll say I want to grab that first row and all the columns. So it should give me the values of 2637, 0.00073, so on and so forth. If I just run this code, it is giving me the same values. So yeah, I hope that that is clear, that we are grabbing that first index row from the X test. And let's see what is the actual output with respect to that first index. It is brown dwarf. Now we know that our model, or I should say the pipeline, is actually predicting it correctly as brown dwarf. So now the main job of this pipeline test that we have loaded over here would be to identify this X test output as brown dwarf. If it is doing successfully, then we can go ahead and download this pipeline test, that is actually the pipeline.pkl file, and then use it for the deployment purpose. Actually, what I'll do is I'll first of all create a list of features, which is actually the name of all the columns stored in the format of a list. I can do this with the help of xtest.columns. I run this. It's not a list, so I'll just convert this to list and run this. Now it's the list of these columns. It's actually the feature names that I'm having. So it's the feature list that I've created. I'll save it into this features variable. And now I'll do this prediction on top of this data. The way I'll be doing is by creating a data frame, because I need to pass in the values of temperature and all of this thing inside this. I'm going to create list within a list so that it's like, it's understanding that I'm going to pass it in the format of a row. So It's going to contain the first value as 2637 for the temperature. The second value is with respect to the luminosity, that is 0.00073. And then it's for radius, it is 0.127. And then lastly, we are having the absolute magnitude, that is 17.22. And now on top of this, I'll also be required to give the names of the columns, and it's same as this features. So I'll just pass in that features and just check if everything is working fine or not. So yes, everything is looking good. So this is my test data. Okay, this is my test data. I'll run this. And now what I'll do is I'll simply go ahead and do the prediction using this test pipeline, or it was, what was the name? Pipeline test. I'm now going to do this predict. I'm just going to pass in this test data and see if the output is going to be brown dwarf. Indeed, it's a brown dwarf. So I'll just go ahead and save it as the output, right? And then print this output. Print output. It's going to be brown dwarf, right? So this is something that I really wanted it to predict, and it's doing it successfully. So it means I can simply go ahead and download this pipeline. And for that, I'll go to this folder and download this pipeline.pkl file by clicking on these three dots and click on this download. That's it. Now it will be successfully downloaded into your system that we can use it for the deployment purpose. So that's the end of this video over here, students. And I hope that you have successfully downloaded this pipeline and also tested and saw it for yourself that everything is working fine or not. Now in the next video, we are going to start with fast API.